רגע, יש לי חתולה.
It's okay. So I think we're live.
לא. Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we are live right now. We're going live. People are beginning to start watching it. We're live in the group. Yep. Oh, it says live video interrupted. I don't know what's going on. 1 second. So it looks like Facebook might be offline again.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh no, looks like it's on. Okay. All right. So I'm going to turn off all these streams because they're going to be super distracting, and I'm just going to focus on the conversation. And hopefully it'll be good. Hopefully then we find out. So there's one thing that we haven't done, which is promote this on LinkedIn. Do we want to do that?
We can. Yeah.
We can. I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's not. There's no effect for it being live, so it doesn't really matter whether people watch it live or after the fact. I think that will be fine either way. Yeah. So, Yaron, welcome to Remake's live conversations with interesting people for the times of Corona. It's a completely vague concept at this point, but I think it's just like cool people I know that might have something interesting to say about where we are right now, or something helpful to say, or might be even just super entertaining and divert us from what's going on. The reason we're speaking English is, I guess some people, I mean, there's a lot of people in Israel. We're both in Israel, but there's a lot of people who might be watching it from other countries. And in Israel, actually, things are getting better a little bit in terms of Corona. People are already starting to go out. So I think the main impact is actually going to be felt moving on, assuming we don't do anything stupid. Moving on, probably Israel is beginning to be out of it, but we'll see. So, Yaron, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me, and thanks for considering me as a interesting and cool guy. That's a big compliment.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. Sometimes I'm.
So why don't you introduce yourself? Tell me kind of how you think of your journey and what you're doing right now in a way that kind of will be helpful to other people to understand.
Okay, so I'm Yaron. Well, to introduce myself, I live near Jerusalem with my partner. I'm pointing there because she's beyond that wall. My dog and 2 cats. I'm practicing meditation for 20 years already. And I started when I was 18. My path took me with meditation to Tibetan Buddhism, to be religious Buddhist, to move to India, to live there for 3.5 years, and have all kinds of adventures with Buddhism, living in a kind of Buddhist commune and doing many Buddhist stuff. And eventually I I studied for 2 years in the Lotsawa Rinchen Zangpo translator program. Back then, I thought I'll be an interpreter for Buddhist discourses, teachings in Dharma centers. And I studied there for 2 years, and then I became the manager of the school. And that was 2014, and for the last 5 years, I was the director of the school. And that was fun. And it ended this week. And beside that, I'm also a social worker. I play bass. I do some social media, and I work in Remake also, doing some of the social media. I mean, now it's more problematic. And these days I study in the Hebrew University. I do a MA thesis. I write it for already 3 years now. It's about Buddhist epistemology, about the Prasangika Madhyamika view about validity and valid knowledge and things like that. And also, I participated as a teacher assistant in Wingate's course for training meditation guides in Israel. That's a course for, I think, half a year. It was how it looks like ages ago. It ended 2 months ago.
So you helped train meditation teachers?
Yeah, I wasn't so active because there's really good teacher who doesn't really need assistant. Only like when we talked about more philosophical, theoretical things, I shared my views. Yeah, but it was really great course for half a year. And yeah, and I think that meditation can help some people in this crisis of Corona, being at home, facing our crazy mind. And so, yeah, it helped me. It's still helping.
Oh.
So this is, about myself and what I'm doing.
This is the arc. Cool. So I'll say maybe a little bit about how we know each other. And so so first of all, I've been meditating not for 20 years and definitely not since I was 18, but I've been meditating since my early 30s. So we're approaching probably 8 or 9 years now. We come from very different traditions. So I started at the Insight Meditation Center in New York, in Manhattan on 26th Street. And I actually, I've kind of been an atheist my whole life. And the way I came into Buddhism was through Sam Harris, who's a famous atheist writer. And the reason why I even tried it was because Sam said, you don't have to be religious. You don't have to believe any of this bullshit. Just, it's a great system. Just try it. And, when we met, we met at the seminar in Tel Aviv University about Buddhist ideas and philosophy on the Silk Road. Yeah.
With Ro'it Zohar.
With Professor Ro'it Zohar.
Yeah.
So, and when we met, and you told me kind of your background, which is a kind of a religious Tibetan background, at least initially, it's so different from my own, and yet I think we have similar values and similar kind of. Today, we ended up kind of in a similar place where I got more open to religious ideas, and you kind of maybe went the other way.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
we met in the middle, maybe. So
yeah, and in the Madhyamika, in the middle way.
Yeah, the middle way.
Our Buddhist beloved middle way. Yeah, I remember that was great course with Ruit Sohar. I think it was 3 years ago in Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
And I mean,
By the way, by the way, not to brag, but I'm going to brag. I checked the online system and I got the highest grade on that course.
You deserve it.
I got the highest grade.
Really? Wow, that's.
Well, it's just the paper. It was just the paper, so I'm very proud of it. I actually wrote about. I think I wrote about Madhyamika.
Yeah, you wrote about metaphor in Chandrakirti.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
I remember your seminar.
I forgot.
Yeah, I wrote historical. That was a horrible paper, but it's okay. I got 90, which is the failure in humanities.
No, for Lotsawa is tough. So that's actually a pretty good grade. So yeah, yeah, that's a great course. And actually kind of a very challenging one because he cares about historical accuracy a lot and getting everything, not getting, certain statements that you might make without thinking, you would challenge you on, like, which school came first and what, like, this is, but I thought it was very interesting. So tell me what brought you to that class. What was the path that you took? Because you were in India for a while.
Yeah.
How did you end up in Tel Aviv University in this class?
Well, after after living in India, while I was living in India, I had some issues that I had to go back to Israel, and I couldn't continue my work there in India. Also, living long time in India is very difficult. I think Israel is a tough country. But,
you're saying Chinese. Yeah, you said that. I still remember our conversation about this, and you're like, I came back, like, living in India is so difficult. And I asked you what was so difficult, and your answer cracked me up. You were like, the monkeys. I hate the monkeys.
That's really, wow, that was really fresh. I forgot about the monkeys.
You were angry about the monkeys.
Yeah, well, no, monkeys scares me. I mean, we had all kinds of monkeys. I mean, I lived in the last year that I lived all kinds of places in India. I moved apartment every 2 months, except 1 year that I was in a nunnery, and 1 year that I wasn't a nun, unfortunately. I just am not part of the community. I just lived on the top of the nunnery. But they're amazing nuns, really amazing nuns from India, from Lahul, Ladakh, Zanskar Valley. I had an apartment near the Tibetan Library of Works and Archives, and there was a monkey in my balcony all the time, and I couldn't get out. And if I would leave the door open, they would come to my room and steal all my stuff. One time, I remember I lived in a really horrible room, and a monkey came to my room, and I just ran to my neighbor and like begged for help, and he was a tough Tibetan guy and came with an umbrella. Scared the monkey out, and it traumatized me. So yeah, monkeys. There are other stuff in India that are difficult, but also there's nice things there. That everything has good and bad. But yeah, so when we met, I think it was 2 months after I left India. It was after my second year as a director, and I was there for already 1 year, and I left to Israel. And then I thought, what can I do with all my knowledge of Tibetan and Buddhist studies? It's not something that I can find work with, except maybe the academy. So I thought maybe I should continue in the academy, because knowing Tibetan, I have some leverage in humanities studies. So I joined the Hebrew University with Yael Bentur. She's a professor in Jerusalem, and she really helped me to start my year there. And I found out that there's really almost no courses about Buddhism in the university. Now there's a lot. I mean, they changed from 3 years ago. Have
Really? Like, so
much more
you're saying
courses.
Jerusalem didn't have that many courses on Buddhism? Like,
No.
Tel Aviv has like infinite number of courses about Buddhism.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe today that back. Yeah. You have, because you have Karen Arbel and
From the start, I could have taken only Buddhist and or meditation related things if I wanted to. There's infinite classes. But maybe it's also because it's East Asia, right? So East Asia has a ton, and I'm also doing religious studies. So religious studies has things that have to do with it. And even the courses that I took that weren't really about Buddhism, like I took a great seminar on suffering in religion. Then it, of course, was very relevant to Buddhism.
Yeah. I don't want to have my Polish Jewish jokes about suffering and religion. Oi, yes. No, there was Vitar Schulman, Professor Vitar, gave some classes and nothing more than that. So I asked if I could join Tel Aviv, because Tel Aviv had more classes about Buddhism. And after a really long, tiring, bureaucratic journey, I managed to join Tel Aviv and meet you there with the Ritzor. And back then I was, as you said, we do like different ways with Buddhism. I come from more a very religious background, and you more secular, and you become more open to religious ideas, and I become more critical and tired of religious ideas.
Yeah.
So back then it was kind of in the I think in the middle of my which is still happening, my religious crisis with Buddhism. And I was already, I think, 17 years Buddhist. I was very religious, and then after living in a Buddhist society, things started to change in my mind about Buddhism and how we perceive it, and how we practice it, and how Buddhism express itself to and present itself to newcomers. And but I mean, I can talk a lot about this. I don't know if it...
No, I think we should. I think we should get to it. But I could maybe let's maybe start with the positive. So why did you find yourself meditating at 18, and what did you find in it, and how did you get into it to begin with? And then we can talk about the other process.
Well, I think, meditating and Buddhism is a bit, I see when you get more into Buddhism, your meditation changes. So, but I got into Buddhism because of the experience of meditation. I wanted to do meditation. Back in the 90s, meditation was very popular with the rise of the New Age movement in Israel.
Right.
And there were many courses, and I have a friend who started doing all this New Age stuff and reading Osho books, and he was a very impressive person, and I wanted to be like him. Also, girls like him more than they like me. I thought maybe it could be something that could help. But I think I have.
That would work on me today too.
I'm meditating. You want to come listen to Deepak Chopra?
Yeah.
I'm very mindful. You can write it in the Tinder profile. Practicing.
I do have it on my Tinder profile. Oh, you're breaking.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. No, my Tinder profile just says that I'm writing my thesis on Buddhist philosophy. That's but it's very impressive to the ladies. Buddhism is impressive
Really?
to the ladies. Yeah.
From my experience, Buddhism is a
some
real
ladies.
turn-off.
To some ladies.
I mean,
to the right kind of ladies.
Well, I mean, I think my first encounter with meditation was the need to be more aware and know what I'm doing, be more present. And because when I was 14, I got hit by a car. I had a car accident. And the reason that it happened is because I was so unaware of myself. I just went just jumped to the highway. And I was then very interested about why I'm not aware of myself, why I'm not conscious of what am I doing? How can I be like disassociative, so like zoning out? And but I didn't meditate only when I was, I think, 17, when I was in boarding school. One of the workers there taught meditation, and it was like, and then I read some books about Buddhism and meditation. This is funky, and then I searched for meditation courses because I wanted this kind of presence and awareness and being in control. And I found one in the Tibetan tradition. The Vipassana was fully booked. That was before I drafted into the army. And it was with Venerable Rita. Now she's Venerable Losang. She is a Buddhist nun from the Tibetan tradition. And I went to some meeting in Jerusalem with her, and it's like people who experienced their first time taking acid, that was doing meditation for the first time. I was focused, and I had experience, and I was like, things are going good. I'm functioning. I can control my emotion. What's happening with me? And
sorry, let's pause for a second. What was the meditation? What was the first meditation you actually tried?
Actually, it was very simple. Watching your breath meditation. It wasn't.
And then similar to Vipassana, I guess. Like
the first part. There's the Satipatthana. The first part of the watching. Not scanning your body head to toe, and looking at so that was my Cuenca impression. If you've been in the Vipassana retreat,
I watched the videos. Yeah,
so head to toe.
I was never in a Goenka retreat.
It's fun.
Maybe I'll try it sometime. But yeah, no, so that's my first experience as well at the insight meditation. Was just watching the breath very closely, and in fact, I think it was like an 8-week course. I think for the first 2 weeks, that's all we did, and then we gradually added other things like body sensations, and like it's a very gradual process. So tell me, was that similar to your experience, or?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't so gradual. It was just watch your breath and be present. Don't let your mind wander. Or watch. Actually, I watched the belly. when you inhale and exhale, it's widening. So you watch the widening and the belly.
So for what does that accomplish for people who've never tried that? By the way, can you hear me well? Because I just switched inputs from my headphones to the mic, because apparently.
No, I can hear you really well.
Okay, good. So because I have this, check this out. This mic here.
The Larry David microphone.
Maybe. I don't know the reference. I don't.
Larry David. Never mind. Watch his YouTube. He's famous.
So the Yeah. So tell us what does it do? Like, so you're just paying attention to breathing or your belly rising and falling. What's, for someone who's never tried it, what does it do?
I mean, everyone has different experience for meditation, and I cannot general say what it does to people. For myself, I mean, at least at the first time that I did that, I got into a very aware and focused place. I mean, I looked at the sensation, and then I didn't let my mind wander. So my thought became very active, but I kept like with the on the object of meditation. I kept my mind on the object of meditation, and then things started to become more clear. My thought became less active, and I could be aware of the sensation very clearly. And the time, usually our time runs really fast. Then it's like slow motion, your time.
When you're
How to
meditating.
express it. When you meditate, you become,
Yeah.
the time become really long. This is why meditation is very boring and very difficult, because the more you're aware, the times become longer, and the meditation session, you do 5 minutes and it's like 2 hours. If you do it well, and that's the time that I just zone out, which is most of my meditation these days. It's like 1 hour goes like 5 minutes.
Yeah. When you're distracted. I remember meditating in the park in Brooklyn, in New York, in the early, probably the first 6 months of getting into meditation. And during that time, I was actually experiencing the best concentration that I've ever had, right?
It's like drugs.
And it kind of is. And what I'm going to tell you is also kind of sounds like a drug-induced state. But I was sitting in the park, and I was done with my meditation, and I opened my eyes, and I noticed that there's flowers. I'm sitting on the grass, but there's little flowers everywhere. And then I noticed that there were bees flying around, and I was just like hypnotized by the bees. And then I noticed that every time 2 bees try to approach the same flower, they both turn left and go to a different flower. And I was seeing that happen dozens of times in front of me. I was like, it's not just that I was seeing a lot of bees, I was seeing bees meeting and turning left. That's the level of like, and I was like, wow. Oh my God, they must have some sort of algorithm in their brain saying, if you see another bee, turn left. Going for, don't fight over the flower, just turn left and go to a different flower. Yeah.
That was after the 8 weeks of meditation, the course that you described earlier?
Yeah, so I haven't really spoken about this to a lot of people, but so after about 2 weeks it was this weird thing. So one of my teachers called me a concentration monster, because apparently I have really good concentration.
That's good.
And it does I remember even when I was younger, where me and my girlfriend we lived together for a few years, and she would talk to me. But if I was reading the paper, and like, let's say there was paper on the table, and I read a headline that was interesting to me, I would completely lose awareness of the rest of the world. And my girlfriend would be talking to me, and I'd be like reading the paper.
That's good.
Without even holding the paper, just from like, standing. And she was like, Ron, I called you like 3 times. And I was like, I didn't hear anything. Like I was just, I think I kind of had pretty high levels of concentration. And then when I was, so I was at this course, it was 4 weeks. It was 8 weeks. But it was just 1 meeting per week. And then the rest of the time, we just promised to meditate every day with the instructions. And it was towards the end of, I think, the 2nd or 3rd week, where I was really, and I know that's not healthy, by the way, that's not recommended, but I was so pissed that I couldn't meditate, that I couldn't concentrate, that my mind was controlling me and not me it. I was so pissed that I went to war. Like I was sitting and I said, I am not losing the breath. I'm staying with the breath no matter what. Like I was getting, I put a lot of anger into it. Like there's anger. And then something pretty radical happened. It only lasted 15 minutes. And I have rarely had it since, but in all the descriptions of like the first jhana, that's it kind of, when I read it, I was like, oh my, that's what I experienced. But yeah, after 2 weeks, but then maybe twice since. But it was like, first of all, my head was completely clear. There were no thoughts. And I felt like I felt the sense of self, but it wasn't here. It suddenly shifted to the belly. So it was very strange. It was like, I felt like I was here and above me was this empty space of the head.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it was kind of, and then the rest of the universe was kind of empty. And I started noticing all these emotions, and it felt very pliable. Like it felt like I could call up thoughts or emotions, and they would come, and they essentially would do what I wanted. And so I would say, explain yourself, right? Or I would kind of look at an emotion and be like, I unpack that, and it would explode, and I would see everything that's inside. And during that meditation, I realized that one thing that I thought I was feeling one thing was actually three things at the same time. And it was like, oh, I'm fearful, and I'm, slightly angry, but I also feel a little bit guilty, or I don't remember what the specific emotions were. But it was like suddenly understanding the composite of the emotion. And that's when up until that point, I felt like meditation was doing good. Maybe I was more relaxed, but at that point, it was like, oh my God, like there was something very radical happened. And I felt like I understood myself better. But after about 15 minutes, basically, as soon as I became too self-aware of that state, it disappeared. And I still can't, I can't bring it back at will. Like sometimes I get close to it in meditation, but it's not like, I don't have access to the jhanas whenever I want to.
Wow. It's like extreme.
Some people do, and some people claim they do.
Yeah, I hope so. That's what they work on for many years.
Exactly.
Isolation and giving away the pleasure of this life. So you had this intensive introspective experience that you could see your emotion and kind of investigate them and see the subtlety of them, isn't it?
Yeah. And then after that point, that became, I think for like 2-3 months, every time I would sit, I would get some major insights into my own psychology, or some flash of memory from the past, like something that was still driving me, so it was definitely psychological process. More than anything, in the first months, it was mostly about understanding my own psychology better and kind of repressed things coming to the surface and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's that could be some dangers of doing a meditation, that repressed things are coming up.
Yeah. So what was it like for you? So you were 18.
Yeah, I did. I was almost 19, I think, before the army, and I had this intensive meditation experience. And for me also, I couldn't see my emotions clearly, but I could see things, and I could I have attention deficit disorder, I think. I have this, it's more neurological. I have this inner, I cannot concentrate, and it's also affects how I read. I skip stuff. So all this neurological whirlwind that I have inside kind of calmed down, and I could function and do stuff. And because I was different self, I was the functioning Yaron who can be okay and do stuff in the world in a better way. And also, I mean, so this meditation it gave me some belief in like the Buddhist teachings and also, I mean, I was drawn to Buddhism more from the moral and emotional, non-violent side of Buddhism. And the experience of meditation helped me kind of have more belief and also become more suggestible. And to whatever they said. It's thing that I call it like epistemical widening. You have good experience from meditation. It's true and it has some validity in it because this is true and valid. So the source that gave you this meditation has probably another true facts and
more things to teach.
More things to cheat, more things that they say, the other things that you may say like spirits, rituals. And they say maybe because the meditation was all right, so maybe they're right in the other stuff. Maybe I had such a good experience, I become a different person.
Yeah, maybe there are gods and monsters and, you know.
Yeah, even if you say, I mean, I suspend my my conclusions about that. I just say maybe. Right. I mean, they have some good things that proven to be right. So maybe this is. I don't say no and say this is totally wrong.
Yeah.
But I think then on after I mean I was in the army and then went to India and just wanted to do retreats and meditation. And then I joined all very religious Tibetan Buddhist retreats, tantric retreats, and then my meditation changed. I less focused about all this watching the breath, being focused, relaxed, more mindfulness meditation, but more religious meditation, trying to change the mind into a state of being on the path to enlightenment, which are good, and doing more ritual, tantric rituals and tantric practices, and I experienced all kinds of different kind of practices. And only I think in the recent years, I have more critical view about my relation with them. I mean, I don't think that they're wrong or they're bad practices. I think that they help many people, but for me, I don't think it kind of did the thing that I needed and I came for. So I kind of went back to more basic meditation, but still in the Tibetan tradition and more meditations that don't require any religious view to practice or kind of.
And when you say that it doesn't require a religious view, do you mean also things like emptiness or like the basic principles, or are you talking about more like mystical gods and religious imagery and stuff like that?
Well, religious imagery in Tibetan Buddhism, there are aspects of emptiness that help you to understand. Everything in Tibetan Buddhism is supposed to help you understand emptiness.
Right.
In the end. Yeah, emptiness is very, I mean, I really like the idea of emptiness, although it has, the more you study, the more you have questions about it. And no, I mean, to understand emptiness traditionally in the Tibetan tradition, also to practice meditation, simple meditation, you need to have some kind of basis of morality and basis of merit. You have to have some good karma, which is a religious term in itself, to have good karma, you cannot have any empirical or scientific or any rational proof of karma. It's something that you have to believe. Also in the tradition, it's considered something that you have to believe. So the approach to meditation, like in some of the non-dual tradition, is that you have to prepare yourself to the meditation by doing many activities of devotion and good deeds, that you have more good karma, which is good, it's great, but you have to believe in it. And like for me, I came from a very non-religious background, and I was very critical, agnostic, cynical boy from the 90s guy. And I have this difficult to do things that just out of belief. In order to practice meditation, you have to do preliminaries and stuff like that. So, although I did it.
I don't remember who said this, but it's so true that like a lot of the religious practices. So first of all, people who study many different religions notice that the things that actually are more stable are the practices, not the ideas. The ideas are always changing, but the practices are much more stable. And so, for instance, like people, pagans were celebrating, around December, this festival with like the tree. And then Christians came and made it a Christian holiday, but it's been done for like a millennia before that. And a lot of our practices, and in Judaism especially, like there's things like Sabbath that, been practiced for thousands of years. But the explanations and the ideas around them changed, and the politics, and so many things changed on top of it. Someone made a joke. I don't remember who it was, but it was like, you do the practice, and then someone says, "This is why you're doing the practice. This is the idea behind the practice."
Yeah.
And then you think, "Oh, I guess I must believe it because I'm doing the practice."
Yeah.
And it's reverse logic. You're actually doing the practice to do the practice, and the explanation comes later.
Yeah, there is an approach about rituals. I forgot the name of the one who wrote it. He based it upon research about Brahmin rituals near the Ganges. That you do the ritual because you do the ritual, because your ancestor did, and you just do it.
Yeah.
You don't know there is no symbolic or anything. You can agree or not agree, but just do it. Just.
And the story about the monkeys, the way you train monkeys not to touch the banana. So there's it's such a great story. I don't know if it's a real experiment or if it's a joke. I think it's probably just a joke, but you take a group of monkeys and there's like a banana tree in the cage or whatever. But every time someone climbs the tree to get to the bananas, you play a very unpleasant sound.
Okay.
Okay. And so after a while, the monkeys get it. And every time one of the monkeys tries to climb, they beat the monkey and pull him off the tree to avoid.
Okay.
And you gradually, like, these new monkeys die and new monkeys are born. And after after a generation, you have a group of monkeys that forbid anyone from climbing the tree, but nobody knows why.
Yes.
Like, none of them has ever heard the unpleasant sound. And that's kind of a thought experiment that I kind of like. I wonder where it came from. We should do some search.
Poor monkeys.
But very poor monkeys. The monkeys are us.
The monkeys
we are the monkeys.
Well, we are not. I think we're not the monkeys, because you and I, we were born in very individualistic atmosphere. You have free thinking. You were raised to question religion and many things. And
yesterday, not to say that this is a bad thing, but Holocaust Day was just now, and it's 10 a.m. in the morning. There's a siren, and everybody stands.
Yeah.
And we know why, I guess, but because we were told. But
yeah,
we only do it because everybody does it, and we're told to do it. And I remember as a kid, I think there was some, I don't remember which, if it was like Memorial Day or something. I got sent home as a kid. I must have been like 7 or 8 or less than that, with a note to my mother that I laughed. I laughed during like Memorial Day or something like that. And I did laugh. I was a kid. I was probably telling a joke or trying to make someone laugh. And I wasn't laughing about anything, anything bad. But just the idea that you could laugh on that day, it was a very somber day when we were supposed to be very serious. Very similar to me to the monkeys that can't, maybe for a good cause, but very similar to the monkeys that can't eat the bananas.
Yeah, that's true. You do it because everybody's doing it, and you don't question that. That's the basic kind of thing. I don't think necessarily religion has to be like that, because you have this rich hermeneutical lineage in any religion that explain the rituals and their meaning, and they give new meaning in every generation, and they have very sophisticated ways to look at the rituals, and not everybody's doing it just like as it says in the book. But the thing is, you can do it because you have this critical thinking and the ability to be creative, and you have this you have the permission to be kind of think differently, which I thought in my experience in my religion that it's closing down. I don't have more permission to think outside the box and to do things outside the tradition, and my individual thinking and my doubts and were kind of a bit narrowed down. So also some ideas I had kind of face a bit reality, like Buddhism has lots of things about perfection and teachers, and when you see people are people, and even though they are enlightened, it's kind of do something to your faith.
Right. Yeah. So that's really interesting. It makes sense. Like it's funny because the people that I would consider teachers in Buddhism, in my exposure to Buddhism, and I don't consider myself a Buddhist, but I'm definitely very influenced by Buddhism. And my teachers are secular, Western, really non-religious people who would be the first one to tell you, I don't believe nirvana makes you perfect, or I don't believe there's just one enlightenment. I believe there's awakenings, right? There's multiple ways experience it, and it comes and goes, and it's like, but it's interesting that people that I've learned from are Westerners that have already made their decisions and left whatever orders they were in sometimes to kind of do their own thing. But we're still with a lot of respect, but they're just saying, yes, I'm not going to become a religious follower, because that's not who I am, because I'm a secular Jew from New York or whatever, who's like, that's not what we do. We question things.
Yeah. Also, if you decide to be, that's perfect. I mean, that whatever makes you happy and doesn't hurt anybody, that's fine. I mean, I think that there's things that this secular interpretation of Buddhism, I mean, they lose some things from Buddhism. Like, I mean, Robert Schaff, he has very interesting articles about mindfulness and Buddhism and Buddhist modernism, and he said that, I mean, you can lose the Sangha and the Dharma and some things that are very nice.
Well,
in the religious way, like
it depends, right?
It depends on the person.
Because no, but I'm saying, like, in the Western traditions, they do have communities. They do, like, there's now secular sanghas.
Yeah,
I would argue that most sanghas in the West are secular sanghas.
Not necessarily. We have lots of religious sangha. I mean, I'm part of the religious sangha.
Yes, but if you look at the Vipassana, at the world of Theravada, virtually all the sanghas are not, maybe of course they're Buddhist inspired and they teach Buddhism, but they don't require you to believe anything. They don't require you to accept certain ideas to be part of that sangha.
Is that with Gwenka or in general?
No, I'm talking about the Insight.
The Insight,
Society.
Yeah. Well, Insight is Insight meditation. Also Tovana, they don't require you. And it's okay. But yeah, they're kind of an interpretation for Buddhism, and that's what nice. You can choose some things in Buddhism and take it to your way of life. You can choose to take the Buddhist path with the beliefs and the views. And what nice in Buddhism, because it's so wide, and it's 2,500 years old. It's geographically spreads in so many places with so many people who thought about it, produced text, and you can find so many views that you can connect with. I mean, you can find like only the Dzogchen non-dualistic views, or the Theravadic, or the more religious Theravada the Pure Land, Mahayana, or Soto Zen. You can find all kind of Buddhism that fits you. Or that, I mean, if you want that.
For sure.
If you don't believe in that, just leave it. So you can find whatever is good for you, and you will have the kind of Buddhist references for that, and that will support you.
Yeah.
That's.
I definitely find that I'm, with my philosophical tendencies, I gravitate toward the more philosophical texts. But most Buddhists in the world probably don't read those texts and don't know what they say.
That's true.
So it's definitely, it's very, very interesting. So tell me, going back to your time, your religious time, did you learn anything that you today would consider very beneficial during that time?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I still consider myself as a religious person, because I still have some faith, and I still part of the community, and I still do the practices, but in a different way, in different approach. Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, I learned Tibetan from this religious drive to understand. I want to understand His Holiness the Dalai Lama, which now I can understand in Tibetan, which is amazing because he's an amazing philosopher and amazing person. And so intellectually, I got better understanding of the text. Whenever you study Tibetan, they can say, wow, you read it in Tibetan, it's very clear. You read it in English, and it's like, whoa, what's that? So intellectually, I got much better understanding of the philosophical heritage. And emotionally, I think in the religious life, you have, there's a thing that I think secular people, they don't experience it usually. I have more things in common with the Chabad guy than in secular people, because you have this. I mean, I think in most of the Buddhist tradition, you see Buddha as a not just as a concept or state of being, but as an actual active cosmological figure in the world that helps you. You pray to, you seem like you project all your relationship issues to this Buddha.
Your connection with your parents are now.
Yeah, your connection with your parents, connection with like important figures in your life. And you have this devotion to an idea, and you have this this wish to be perfect and to do good things to the world, which is amazing. I mean, this is the thing that, I mean, most of the religious people, they aspire to be good people. I mean, I don't know if most, some. That's it, kind of inherent. And in Buddhism, you actively work on practicing compassion and love and change the way you see other people and change your reaction and you have also devotion, which is very, it was very, I never thought that I would ever have kind of a devotion like a Hasidic guy has for God. And it's very opening. It's very spacious. It's very, very good and wholesome state of mind. Unless you take it to unless you get attached to it, and then you hate all the people that
don't feel the same way.
You don't feel the same, or they say bad thing about the object of your devotion.
Yeah, small glitch in religion.
What do you say about Buddha? I met some people like that. So I think I mean, you know, this is one thing, like intellectually it helped me with understanding Buddhism, and emotionally I had all kinds of experience that I couldn't have different ways. And I think it made me a good person and very more happy and less depressed. And then in some ways also made maybe some confusion, but and the other thing, I got into a community of worldwide Buddhists. I met people from Malaysia and Korea and United States and England, even New Zealand. So kind of a community of worldwide Buddhists, and you have some things in common, which is very interesting because I never felt connected to the Jewish people. I'm sorry, therefore, I never connected to all this Am Israel, and because it's always connected with suffering and look what they did to us, and also
it's a very victimized religion. Not only in modern times, but actually the earliest stories of the religions are all about like they tried to kill us, they didn't succeed, let's eat. Right, like that.
Yeah, there's if you've seen Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which is an amazing show, whoever listened to this podcast should watch it.
Okay.
And there's a song. There's lots of song with her mother, and the song is called "Remember That We Suffered." That's the
Jewish religion. That's a Jewish religion in no, that's
experience of the Jew. Yeah, I mean, it's really beautiful and they have lots of aspects. But for me, it was very, I was very like secular, individualistic. The alienated individual doesn't have the community, all the thing that describes us 21st century people. That was 23rd back then. I didn't connect with the like community, maybe with the in small communities, but with Buddhism connect me with people from around the world. And I have friends, and now it's mostly on Facebook because we're at home, and we do practice together in Zoom.
Facebook is the new Buddhism.
Yeah, wow, Facebook has weird Buddhist groups.
Oh.
So yeah, so I got a lot from my religious, and I'm grateful for that. But also I have some things that I feel that wow, all my 20s and my early 30s, I was very talented painter and bass player, bass player. Sorry, bass is a fish. And
he plays an amazing fish.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Give him a fish, he can produce divine music.
Yeah. Watch me on Catfish. And so I kind of neglected all of that, and I got into the mood of all the everything in this world is not so important. So I didn't thought about my economical future. I didn't thought about career. I didn't think about. I thought about relationship, but I have this non-attachment, this conflict. Also, you said before, maybe you said that you're interested in Buddhism. I mean, back then, Buddhism was kind of a turn-off for many people because they thought you were going to be disattached from this world and go be a monk somewhere. And you were a weirdo, which I am, even without Buddhism.
Today we have so many millionaires who are talking about their mindfulness and Buddhist influence that I think the impression may have changed. Maybe like, oh, he's like Steve Jobs. He meditates. He's going to be a billionaire.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Although, I mean, Buddhism doesn't supposed to help you be a billionaire. It's supposed to make you liberate your mind from delusion and be a beggar and leave all this attachment. I mean,
well, Western Buddhism is different again. Like I think Western Buddhism, you can definitely find people that would say that making money, as long as it's done in a moral way, is completely fine. And I mean, I think you can find justification in the canon for that.
Of course. I mean, Buddhism was the merchant. It was the middle class religion. It supported the new. That's one theory. It supported that the new class of merchant that didn't want to give money to the Brahmins.
I think you're talking about maybe Mahayana more than Theravada.
No, Theravada. I mean, they all Mahayana became. It's but I don't think so. Buddhism had me also all kind of. I mean, in Buddhism, you create mental states, and sometimes you can, if you do meditation every day, you get into habit of habituate yourself with some patterns, and I habituate myself with even some negative patterns about myself. More, I mean, you have. This is something that Tara Broch, I don't know how to pronounce her name. She's an amazing woman, and she talks about how you try to be perfect with all this yoga and Buddhism and other stuff, and then you're not perfect because you have lust and anger and depression and anxiety, and then you have this ideal Buddhist self, or what? Not Buddhist. Even if you do any meditation, and every self-help that you're trying to be perfect, and you see the perfect self that you aspire, and you see yourself, and
Right.
it kind of make conflict, and you become more hateful. If you kind of have these tendencies like me to be more self-critical and tendency to look down on yourself, you become more like this. Why you're not perfect? Why don't you practice meditation 4 hours a day? Why can't you be compassionate? Why you're a bad Buddhist? You don't do your practices. So yeah, also, I mean, so this was something I become sometimes more depressed with all this thinking about oh, I don't do enough, and become more anxious about the horrible fears of the life, next life, health and stuff. So yeah, so now I come to the downside. Look, after you asked me about the good side of religion, I came back full of circle.
Yeah.
But yeah, but let's talk about meditation and just leave Buddhism for whoever wants to study Buddhism. It's a wonderful religion with crazy ontological views. Very interesting, but I think we can take from Buddhism the meditation technique, and you don't have to be Buddhist or believe in. And I mean, they're very good. They're very helpful. The focusing meditation, the analytical meditation, even visualization meditation. Habituate yourself with positive state of mind, even state of mind that you want to be habituated with. You can take techniques from Buddhism and use it. This is what mindfulness.
So yeah, let's talk about how right now how meditation has, you know, the potential to help right now during this crisis especially. And I can start by talking about myself. You know, I've had a practice for about 8 years. I most of that time practiced almost every day, but it definitely comes and goes. And kind of the time before Corona, I was kind of letting it go. I was not, you know, I would go maybe meditate once or twice a week, but really not every day, and I couldn't focus during those times. And I felt myself getting more and more anxious and more unable to relax, and watching the news more and more, and, you know, worrying about how this is going to affect the business more and more. And then, you know, a couple, you know, maybe 3 weeks ago, okay, this has gone too far. And started sitting again for 45 minutes every day. And I actually, because I have to work relatively early, and I wanted to be not distracted, so I started waking up at 7 a.m. every day.
For you, it's very early.
It's insane. It's like about 3
4
hours
for
before
every other person.
It's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty much 3 hours before I would wake up. I woke
You're
up
still in New York time.
7 or 8 years. Yeah. So it's the earliest for sure. And I'm still tired. Don't get me wrong. I'm still like suffering the consequences. But I wake up and I go for a little walk in the garden and or the street that's very green, and then I come back and I meditate. And the experience of the rest of the day is completely different, because whatever latent anxiety there is or whatever emotions there are, they kind of they don't have to struggle to be heard. They're just accepted during the meditation and recognized. And so there's not this internal struggle. And probably the last 2 weeks were in terms of mood, the best, you know, the best in like the last year, because of that consistency of every day building on it and kind of having a clean slate. It's almost like it's like mental hygiene for me. So, do you have a similar experience, or what's your experience of this?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have waves of doing few days meditation, then wake up late because my body is, or I get sick, or then I forget to do meditation. I don't have time, and then and in the when the Corona crisis began, it's really shuddering. I was supposed to go to Ireland to get married in Ireland, and it got cancelled, and everything became weird. And also the political state in Israel, all these changes that happened here, that was it's like every day was.
Yeah.
What will happen with our democracy? What will happen with our privacy rights? What will happen? What would happen with our parents? Can we see them? What will happen? I mean, 5% of the population can be erased, and so many worries and anxieties, and economical anxiety, and physical anxiety, and you fear. So it's very affected me, and I couldn't. This is the thing about meditation: when you need it the most, you don't do it because your mind is very. So you don't want to sit down, because when you sit down in meditation, there's what Mingyur Rinpoche called the waterfall experience. You just, all the things come in your face, all these like worries and agitation, all the noises, and so you just, no, I don't want to go in there. I prefer watching TV or watch YouTube videos for 5 hours or whatever, do other stuff to distract your mind watching the mind. So similar to what happened to you, I think I can really relate to that. In the first weeks of in March, I was very like, I couldn't do meditation, and I have anxiety, and like, I have all the time anxiety, and when I get anxiety, it becomes really worse. I mean, my mind shudders. I cannot read. I cannot do stuff. I can do very. So and all this situation got me really anxious and depressed, and I said I have to sit down. I must sit down, and I sat down, and only after a while when you sit down, you see how much like clarity you have inside you. After you go through you manage to get into a bit of concentration. It's so therapeutic, and I think in the last, 3 weeks or so, things, I do meditation every day. I really like to do long meditations, like up to 1 hour and a half, even 2 hours, because my mind, until I relax, it takes me like 45 minutes. So I'm really bad in meditation.
Sometimes me too. Yeah, sometimes me too. I find that usually around 35 minutes. I get a little bit quiet. And so I have 10 minutes of actual peace.
Oh, you froze in the, so I watched you like.
Really? Am I back?
Yeah, back from the samadhi. So I felt, first of all, it's really reduced my level of anxiety. I mean, I still fear the situation, the uncertainty, but it doesn't have so much emotional resonance, and I feel that I can do stuff when I do meditation in this Corona time. I can, now I started like doing a thesis retreat. And for my thesis, I really need to be focused because it's philosophical text that you have to be concentrated, and if I was in the state of mind of anxiety and depression, I couldn't do that. Yes, I think it helped me in the last few weeks of the Corona. Also, luckily I have nature around me, so even if I don't do meditation, I can like broaden my mind just going to the woods with my dog, and So I don't feel locked down. Also, I don't have this. Many people have physical
Barriers,
feeling of
yeah.
lockdown, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, meditation, it's a kind of a way to feel, not to be okay when you're with yourself alone. And this is what the experience many of us have now, being
Yeah.
with themselves alone and the mind going crazy and worries and stuff. And meditation can kind of like, for many of us, can be kind of a leap out of that. I don't think it's for everybody, but for the majority, it is. I think,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely feel like, yeah, it's this weird crisis because I I think, you know, if you accept Yuval Noah Harari's distinction of what's real and what's just a story, just fiction that we tell ourselves.
but the
right?
subjective, intersubjective, and objective, this has this.
Maybe, yeah. But so most of us at home, there's nothing wrong with us. We're healthy. We have enough food. We're not too cold or too hot. I mean, the ones that are healthy, of course. And the things that bother us are fictions like the money in our bank account, the fact that we haven't seen certain people, or all these dreams of what we think we should be able to do, but for a couple months we can't really do. But if we actually pay attention to what's going on moment by moment, it can be really pleasant. So I have my apartment is so green, and I have all these trees around, and I have plants inside. It's very well lit, and I cook a lot, and I buy fresh vegetables, and I cut them, like, you know, and I write, and I do things that are interesting. There's nothing unpleasant moment to moment, but we could get into a cycle of thinking, oh, we're going to lose our democracy, or we're going to lose our, you know, or the economy is never going to get back, right? Or what's going to happen with my business, or what's going to happen with, or, you know, or even more things that are more reasonable, what's going to happen with my parents, what's going to happen with my, but all these worries, first of all, there's very little that you can do about them. Yeah, and two, most of them are in your head, right? Like there's,
yeah.
Mark Twain said something, I'm trying to remember the exact words, but he said something like, I've known many tragedies in my life, most of which never happened.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is true, right? So if you stick to the facts of the case, most of us are quite all right. Like it's this weird disaster that, you know, especially in Israel, I mean, compared to the potential of what could be, we seem to be getting out of it with very few casualties.
Yeah.
And frankly, I think also the economy is going to come back.
I hope so. Yeah.
We're going to have some bills to pay over like a decade. The government is, because the government raised some money, you know, some debt to cover this, but that's going to be relatively easy to pay over many years. And yeah, it's not like there's actually nothing. There's nothing except for the people who are hurt and sick and dying and their families. Most of us are fine, and we're also going to be fine if we don't sink into obsessive thinking about how everything is going to be bad, right? This could be the most productive, satisfying time of your life. You have a chance to write, you have a chance to think, you have a chance to learn new skills. And if you don't do these things, in 3 months, you're going to regret it. In 3 months, you're going to be like, oh, everything is back to normal. What did I do with the last 3 months? I was just obsessing over the news.
It's very funny. We both, we don't have kids. So
That's
probably,
right.
but we don't have like roommates or.
That's right. Well, yeah. It's some people have an objectively terrible, hard time at home right now because they have to deal with insanity and there's no pressure valve to release the tension because they're in the house. Acknowledge, but even there, I think there's definitely families that use it as a time for like quality time. Use it as a time to get to do fun things as a family and create memories that will stay with them for a lifetime. And it's so much in our heads and how we choose to look at it. Not to and it's tragic for the people who can't do it. But it's in a real sense, it's in our hands because it's how we choose to look at the situation.
It's very true what you said, that it depends on how we look at, how do we interpret the situation, and how we have time now to do stuff if we don't have kids or any other things that taking our free time. But I think it also it's like our mental projection that we have alone in our house with them. I think if we have this mental projection at the time, I think it's also time to give to other people. It's to see how people help each other, volunteering, giving food and giving free Zoom classes, and many people connect. Even they're at home, they still connect virtually to other people, and so it's also time that we can give stuff. Not only just develop ourselves, but also like whatever we develop, we can share with people now for free. Maybe later on, people will charge for this yoga and all these premium apps that I downloaded for free, that I give them for free, and probably in a few months I'll have to pay for my training apps. But now the question is, if we have all these worries, and how can we deal with them? All this, I mean, there is you can say some objective reality of crisis, and how do we deal with all our anxiety and thoughts that create more thoughts of anxiety? And so I think this is where meditation can help. All this from not being swayed in the stream of worries and neurotic and repetitive thinking, this is a really good time for kind of learn how to cut the bullshit in your mind.
Yeah. So how would you recommend that people start if they're at home right now and they can't?
If they're at home, well, there's lots of apps and all kinds of YouTube videos, and I would suggest to go to not the weird one, but to go to I mean to professional, if not professional, but good guides for meditation. There's so many meditation teachers these days. It's really a lot. But I think that all these free apps, they're helpful. But if you ask me what to do, I would just say, sit straight back, relax, have 5 things, choose an object, stay on it, just be aware of it. I mean, I do like it because it's the breath, it's like a very famous object, but any object can do, like pictures or image that you visualize of light, and you just familiar yourself with knowing something in a relaxed, focused, non-distracted way, and non-judgmental towards yourself. Really, it's difficult. I mean, I would suggest really to go to kind of an online course, because it takes some time until the benefits of meditation. It's like drugs again. Like you need to. I mean, first experience is really huge, and you need to sometime.
So
then you want to repeat it.
Official advice from Yaron: you need to do a lot of drugs for it to be effective.
No, I mean, yeah. Well, yeah, I think I'm one of the few Israelis who don't smoke hash. I read in this Haaretz article that Israel is the most. We have 26% of the population between 18 to 65 who reported that they smoked once weed in the last year, which is, we are 26%, and Jamaica is 18%. So Jamaica.
Wow, how much is the United States?
I think a bit lower than Jamaica.
Wow.
Well, I don't remember exactly, but Israel is the #1 smoking pot. And
really?
And yeah. We're like.
I had no idea. That's so interesting. Yes, to sit and breathe. My recommendation is I would really recommend one of the apps. There's 2 apps that I really like for this. There's Headspace, which is really, really professional and fun, and even has like a little cartoon characters. But it's actually the guy is British. I actually it was funny. I actually interviewed Andy, the creator of Headspace, on a couple of sprints ago.
Really?
Yeah, he was one of the experts. He was one of the experts at the sprint. He's super interesting, and very smart businessman. He's not just a smart monk and someone who knows how to meditate. Like, he was giving us really solid business advice and how to think about product. So he was a pleasure to interview. And then I just read recently a post from Jake Knapp about how he's using Headspace.
Oh, nice.
And he went into this whole thing about the British accent, and so I wrote to him, "Hey, I interviewed Andy in a sprint recently."
Maybe to people who don't know Jake Knapp.
Jake Knapp is the guy who created the design sprint process that we run. But so Headspace is one. The other is actually the one that I would probably recommend more to my friends, is the Sam Harris app, Waking Up, which they actually, I can send you a link to get a free month, though I think you might be able to get it on your own. But it's, first of all, Sam is secular and is a neuroscientist. So he's explaining everything in this very scientific way, and not, it has a very little religion or mysticism. And at the same time, he really knows a lot about all the different Buddhist traditions. And he practiced Vipassana for many years. He was in monasteries. He practices Dzogchen. And he also, in the app, he does interviews with a lot of very senior Buddhist meditation teachers. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. You get someone who is not really giving you a lot of religion, but is giving you a lot of very authentic different traditions of meditation. So Waking Up is the app. But But also, if you just focus, put a timer. I think it's important to put a timer to kind of block off the time, so it's not, so you don't get distracted and start doing something else.
Yeah.
So even 15 minutes a day, and focus on one object. I use the breath. So if you focus on the breath, try to just stay with the breath for the 15 minutes. So when your mind goes someplace, don't get angry like I did, but just gently come back to the breath. And if you can do it, you'll notice a big change just by doing this for 15 minutes every day, I think. It's a start, and that was, that's what I did for my first few weeks meditating. Cool. So Yaron, I think we need to maybe wrap this up soon. Do you have any final parting words or thoughts, and then maybe you can play us something on the bass?
Oh wow. No. I learned Said Duke by Stevie Wonder on bass. Yeah, I mean, if you want some more Buddhist, more traditional meditation, you can go to this Mingyur Rinpoche is really excellent teacher. Just, I think it's called Tergar, his website, and they have good instruction. He's got good instruction of meditation. I practice according to his instruction, mixed with my own stuff. And I think also the thing that people forget with the meditation is doing some more loving kindness meditation. I mean, the mindfulness meditation and transcendental meditation become very, very famous, but the Metta Bhavana didn't get his deserved seat in the practices that are popular. I mean, this is so therapeutic. This is so helpful in all kinds of ways. I mean, I believe that, getting out of your depression and anxiety also involves getting out of your indulge with yourself, with being obsessed with yourself and being perfect, and thinking about other people and you included. So all this, I think, if people can do also loving kindness meditation, that is, I think, very therapeutical this day. Even compassion, just sharing the experience of, like, we have shared experience of anxiety and fear, and so we can share this compassion, and this is amazing. This is so opening up our minds and give us inner happiness, inner kind of. Loving kindness is very easy. You just think about a situation that you open up your heart. Like, you think about your dog, your cat doesn't do it, but dog or somebody you love, not in like last love, but really love. Oh,
someone who warms your heart.
Yes. And you feel this, and you take this feeling as the object of meditation. You just focus on that, and you just be with that loving kindness.
And you try to suffuse yourself in that feeling.
Yeah, and you can use imaginary. Some people use lights and stuff, but just be with that feeling of love. And compassion is like thinking about the shared suffering, and think about the how sad it is, and share this kind of sadness, and opening up to the feeling that it would be great if this suffering and would be gone, and have this a compassion. Like, think if you see your dog is suffering, so you go, oh. I think like one of the greatest achievements in my life, I think, when I think about all the things that I did and didn't do, is that I made people sit for 2 minutes every day and do loving kindness meditation in the school. So I made them And I think that's really great achievement, because also our relationships is a very source of our well-being. And when we have loving kindness, and we do loving kindness to the people around us, to the people that we have relationship, that it's makes our relationship more happier, and make us more happier, because sometimes great deal of our anxiety and fear and suffering comes from relationship.
Yeah.
So
or the lack of them.
the lack of them, yeah, that's true. And loving kindness makes you very someone that people wants to be around, because you have this lovey-dovey.
I can definitely second what you just said. I think that whereas mindfulness meditation has been very impactful on kind of how I go about my days, loving kindness meditation had maybe equal or more impact on relationships, on understanding other people, on understanding other races. That's something that when I was doing it in New York, really opened up in a very unexpected way, because that was not something that we discussed or that I was thinking about before. But just walking suddenly in the streets of New York and seeing all the different races and people who are different from you, that were kind of invisible, and suddenly just seeing them, and feeling like a certain wall was lowered or dropped. And I've been trying to live more like that since that experience. And I think it's super, super powerful. And it also really helps with anxiety, because if you're always thinking about, in politics, you're always reading the news and you're like, what's the other side going to do? And, and you're always suspicious, or you're like, oh my God, and you're getting paranoid. Just feeling a little bit of compassion even to the other side really helps relax. And knowing that we're all human, and, regardless of everything that's going on, it's you're not emphasizing the differences and the boundaries. You're suddenly able to see the similarities and the things that tie us together, and that's very calming.
Yeah. Yes. Amazing. That's I think anyone listening to us, just look for this mindfulness.
Probably nobody. It's probably nobody.
Yeah. Loving compassion. It's amazing.
We did so little. we did so little promotion.
Yeah, it's okay.
But we'll see. We'll see. If you're watching this, click like or something, just so that we know that that you saw it. But I think So to finish, do you want to maybe play us something terrible on the bass?
On the bass. First, I want to thank you for arranging this. And this is I always like to talk about myself, because I'm obsessed with myself. and probably I said something that I will hear later on, and I'll say, oh, that's stupid, but it's okay. But really, thanks for the opportunity and this 1 hour and a half. And thanks for also sharing your experience with meditation and religious Buddhism. If I want to play something in the well,
I'm happy you agreed to do it, and I think this sort of conversation is exactly the kind of thing that we need to continue doing and do more of during this time. I think it helps. It's helping me feel better.
Oh, that's good.
So hopefully maybe someone else too.
Yeah, עזרת לאדם אחד, עזרת לעולם ומלואו. You help one being, you help the whole in itself. I don't know how you translate that.
Me neither.
So, do you want to bring the violin?
I'll bring it, but I'm not gonna play it, because that's gonna log people off automatically, I think. But I'll just show you the Bible. This is the Bible. You can see the colorful stickers that are supposed to help
Nice.
me learn notes. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what to play, but just
Play something. Doesn't matter. I can't hear you.
You can't?
No.
Oh, never mind.
Oh.
Prepare at the time.
No, I could hear you later, but then you were like going, but I couldn't hear anything.
Never mind. Yeah, I do. I put some covers. I do on.
Nice. Maybe we should play a duet. Maybe we should find a song. I learned to play. I taught myself to play "Who by Fire" by Leonard Cohen. Do you know that song?
Who
By Fire. Especially for its epidemic anthem.
It's from Psalms.
It's
from Shirim.
It's based on Kaddish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yep. So the prayer that you say when someone dies. So cool. So thanks everyone. Thanks Yaron for this chat. Maybe we'll have a chance to chat again. I'm talking to a few other cool people about doing maybe one of these episodes, and I also have like 4 or 5 pre-recorded podcast episodes that I'm going to put up in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully there'll be a lot of content for people who need to be diverted. But hopefully, hopefully we're beginning to approach the end of this around the world. So, and in Israel, it definitely seems like it might be ending soon. So thanks, Yaron, and
thank you.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.